Hi there, this is Karen Kennedy with Real Food Matters, and today we're going to make split pea soup. I'm making split pea soup tonight because this is really one of those super fast meals if you have a pressure cooker and aren't afraid to use it. So I'm going to take you through this because this is really something I always have the ingredients for and I can make in a jiffy, and that's what I need tonight because I don't really have a meal plan. I seem to make a lot of these videos of I just don't have a meal plan, I need something quick. But that's because I think that's what most of you need because we're all busy. So split pea soup, I think a lot of people don't make because it's traditionally made with a ham bone or a ham hock. And I love it made with that, but not everybody has those around. Some people don't even like eating pork. So what I'm going to show you is a vegan split pea soup, but I'm going to show you how I add a little smoky flavor in a few different ways. I might throw bacon in it today, but I'm going to show you a few ways that you can vary it depending on what you like and what you have in your kitchen already. So I've got a pressure cooker going. You can do this without a pressure cooker. You can do it in a slow cooker. You can do it on the stove top, depending on your time. I'm going to show you pressure cooker because I want to take a little bit of the fear out of pressure cooking. It's so damn fast to do it this way. So what I'm using, the vegetables in this, the base of the soup, is like the base of most things. And it's onions, carrots, and celery. So, do you know how to cut up an onion easily? Because the way to do an onion, I wish I shouldn't have started it. What I did with this is I cut off the stem of the onion, not the root. I cut off the stem and then I sliced it in half. Do you see how I've sliced it in half with the root intact? And then what I do is I peel it. I build my compost pile. And then watch. This is going to be a pureed soup. If you're going to puree this, you don't have to worry about cutting up your onion in really small pieces. But watch. What I do is I cut these make these long cuts with my knife, which isn't very sharp, and I cut it to the root, but not all the way through. You see how I did that? And then I turn my onion and cut through. And do you see how I'm holding it? I'm using my my claw fingers to protect my thumb, because I have sliced the tip of my thumb off. It's pretty messy. And then I keep the tip of my knife down and just use that sawing action to get right through there. And like I said, my knife isn't super sharp. They need to be sharpened here soon. And then I've got my onion all ready. I'm going to take you through all the real basics on this soup because it's such a simple soup that I need to be able to show you some things, so I'm going to show you how to chop up vegetables. So I heat up my pan, always in this order. You heat your pan, and then you heat your oil, and then you put in your vegetables. Now, some people would make this soup, you could make this soup by throwing all the liquid, everything in, and just cooking it. That would work in a pinch. I always like to saute my onions first because I'm kind of sensitive to that really sharp onion taste. I can taste it when someone has cooked. I can even smell it in the house. If someone's cooked their soup and they didn't saute their onions first. But not everybody's like me. So just know that you can do that. But I've added my oil, and then if you want to test to see if your oil's hot enough, you just take one onion. And I put it in there, and it should really sizzle. Come here, you. And it's not. My burner's not high enough. So this is how you keep things from sticking, and you want things to cook quickly. So I ended up having my burner on a little too low, which is great. So you can see that it's important to wait. So I've turned my heat up to medium, and I'm going to wait a minute before I add the rest of my onions. I'll set them aside. So the two other vegetables I'm going to add to this is a carrot and a few ribs of celery, which you can see they're dripping. I've already washed them. And the celery, I'm taking the last bits of my celery, and I'm just going to cut the end off. But, you know, remember you're going to puree the soup. I'm going to puree the soup because that's how I like it. So, and I'm going to include the celery heart in there because this actually has a lot of flavor. Celery is a herb, and it does add a lot of flavor. And I'm going to keep the greens on. So move it back there so you can see what I'm doing. There. And I'm just going to do a rough cut. If I wanted this diced, really small, my mom doesn't blend up her split pea soup all the time. So if I was going to keep it all whole and not blend it, I might go right through my celery stalk like that first, so I had skinny sticks, and then I can just easily, you know, make these really small pieces of celery. See that? It's super easy that way. You just make nice long strips, stack up your strips, and then go along like that. But the beauty of pureed soups is I don't have to mess around with that. I can just cut it up and not worry how it looks. And now my little onion in that oil is starting to sizzle, so I can add the rest of my onion. Now, normally with soups, when I'm doing this and sauteing my onion for the base of my soup, I would say add some salt now. And you might be able to, but I want the soup to cook really quickly, and I'm going to cook the lentils in, or the split peas in here. And I find my peas cook much more quickly. Dismiss this. My peas cook much more quickly if I don't have salt in there. So much salt. And I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add bacon to this, so it'll already have a little salt. So I'm just going to let my onions start to cook and fill my bowl with the celery and carrots. All right, and now I have my carrot. Carrots are trickier to cut with, because they're really hard. I'm going to get a different blade for this. Now remember, we're going to puree, so it doesn't matter, but I want to show you how to cut a carrot into small pieces if you need to. So what I did is I cut this carrot so it has a nice flat base. And then I'm going to cut right down the middle of it, and look at this. See this kind of half onion or half carrot? I cut it into long sticks, and then you can go 90 degrees to that and make little cube carrots. Yeah? So you might know this already, but there's some of you who I think are a little intimidated by cutting vegetables. And some of this comes from having the right tools and just having one good chef's knife like this and keeping it sharp. I think I'll do I think it's high time that I did a good knife skills class on here. There we go. But right now I'm just going to cut right through the carrot and cutting nice big pieces of it. Yeah. I'm just doing big chunks now. Because in that pressure cooker, the pressure cooker is just going to demolish all my vegetables. I don't have to worry about that. Okay. My onion's cooking. I'm going to add those vegetables. Now, adding some flavor to your split pea soup. If this is going to be a vegetarian soup and you're not going to add any meat at all, I've got you covered. The spices make a difference. And this recipe I got from Cynthia Lair's, Feeding the Whole Family. I've talked about that book before. It's great. And the spice combination that she uses for that is cumin, just plain old ground cumin. She uses bay leaves, some black pepper, and dill weed. This is just an old thing of dill weed. Those three combined make a great flavor split pea soup. Yeah, no meat, no bacon, no ham, no nothing. It's great. But at the end, a great addition to this are fresh or frozen peas. So after it's all cooked, before you blend it up, you dump in like a cup of frozen peas, and it just adds this great fresh pea flavor to it. So I really recommend you try that. But first of all, I'm going to add my cumin, and I'm going to add about a teaspoon of this. And then I'm going to throw in my bay leaves. And I'm going to take my bay leaves out before I puree it. So I added 3, and I have to remember that I need to get 3 out of that. Now, a couple of tips depending on your preferences. You can really bump this up in terms of flavor in 2 different ways, in my opinion. You can add kombu, which I've used in soups before when I cook beans from scratch. It's a sea kelp, and it adds lots of iodine, and it has glutamic acid in it, which is like MSG, but people don't react to it the same way they do MSG. It gives it a really rich, smoky, umami flavor. And if you're eating a vegetarian diet, especially a vegan diet, start adding these sea vegetables on a daily basis because they're going to really boost your micronutrient level, which you might be low in on your diet. yeah, and they boost your iodine. But what I'm going to do, I don't have a ham hock today. I'm going to add some bacon to this. Again, you don't have to, but I have this. And I'm not going to use the whole pack. You know, a lot of people ask me, you know, oh, is bacon bad for me? I'm like, well, if you eat a lot of bacon all the time, you know, it's really fatty and salty, which is fine a little, sometimes, every now and then. But I think of bacon as the same way I think of cumin and bay leaves. I think of it as a flavor enhancer. So I'm just, you know, this is still frozen. So I'm opening it up like this, and I'm just going to take my knife and kind of hack off an inch or two of bacon. That's it. And throw it in my pot. And the rest of this is still frozen, so I'm going to put it in a container or a Ziploc bag and put it right back in my freezer. And that's using a little bit of bacon frequently so that you have that great bacon smoky flavor. But it doesn't, you know, overwhelm your dish with a lot of fat and salt. Not that I'm against fat and salt. Okay, so this is what you have. Let's lean over here so you can see what's in there. You see what's in there? So it's onions, 1 onion, a carrot, a couple ribs of celery, some bay leaves and cumin, and a little bit of bacon. If you want this to be vegetarian or you don't have bacon, you don't need them. If you want to, you can add a little bit of kombu to this for flavor and to boost up the nutrition. All right, I'm going to pause this and then we'll come back when it's time to add some more things. All right, so this has been sauteing for 10 minutes. I set my timer for 5 minutes. There you go. And I gave it a stir, and then I set it for another 5 minutes, gave it another stir, and decided it was time to add the rest of the ingredients. All the vegetables are soft, the bacon is cooked. The bacon isn't crispy, but the bacon is cooked. So now I've got some water on to boil, and I'm going to add some potatoes and the peas. So I'm just going to add 2 kind of smallish red potatoes to this, and these are going to just give it a little bit of, well, they're just adding starch, so it thickens the soup. So just like everything else, I'm cutting it up into pretty big pieces. Remember, you don't have to saute potatoes, you just need them to soften enough to blend them. So you wash them, cut them up into reasonably sized pieces. And all my bay leaves are in there. The dill I'm going to save till the end. Now, come here. Okay. So I'm going to put the peas in. Here's my split peas. This is 1 cup of split peas. So the ratio of everything I've done, you know, an onion, a couple ribs of celery, carrots, and a teaspoon of cumin and the herbs. 1 cup of split peas to about 4 cups of water. And I'm going to go a little bit higher than 4 cups of water today because that seems to work better for me. So 1 cup of peas, 4 cups of water. I'm just going to put those in there. And then you would pour this into a 4-cup measuring cup. But I've made this so many times in this pot, I know what it's supposed to look like. Okay. Is. Now, if you are doing this on the stovetop or a slow cooker, you just put the lid on and let it cook for a while. But for me, I'm going to put my pressure cooker lid on, tighten it up, and get my little lid. And I won't bore you with this detail. I'm going to bring this up to pressure and then lower it, and then I'm going to let this simmer for about, I'm looking at the recipe, I can't remember. I think I usually let it go for about 10 minutes. That's enough. 10 minutes of cooking time. And then I'm going to take it off and blend it. So I'm going to pause, bring it up to pressure, and then set the timer and let it do its pressure thing for 10 minutes. I'll let it come down to pressure, and then we'll add the last bits and blend it. Okay, so this was at 10 minutes at pressure, and then I cooled it down quickly by taking my pressure cooker over to the sink and I ran some cold water on top of the lid, which dropped the pressure right away. And I took the lid out and I used my tongs and I took out all 3 of my bay leaves. So now I've just got this mushy, nice mushy vegetable mix. So at this stage, I would add a cup of frozen peas, but I don't, so I won't add those. So that's optional. And I'm gonna add about a half a teaspoon of salt. Now remember, I added some bacon to this, and that's a little salty. So I'm erring on the less salt side of things. It's not gonna be as much salt as there would be if I had like a ham hock in it. And I'm also adding a little bit of dill weed, not that much, maybe like a quarter of a teaspoon. And then I'm gonna blend it up. Remember, hand blender, great tool for soups and smoothies. I'm going to blend this up more, but I think you get the picture. Last thing I'm going to add is some black pepper and just a couple of turns. Now what to serve this with? I made this because I have some leftover cornbread from a chili I made the other day. So I'm going to serve some of that with this and a salad. The other things I really like to have with pea soup are beets. I like cooking some beets and making either a beet and feta salad or just or pickled beets. I think that color looks great with it. Otherwise, you know, a salad and maybe some bread or baked potatoes or something like that. Okay, so that's it. A really easy split pea soup. You can make it with bacon or you can make it vegetarian. Whatever you like, it's going to taste great and it's going to be quick. I hope you try it. Thanks for watching.